Have you ever felt heavy inside, sad, empty, restless, without a clear reason? You smile, you function, you pray, yet something within your heart feels disconnected. What if this emptiness is not a problem to escape, but a message your soul is sending you back to Allah? There are moments when the heart feels tired, even when life looks fine. You wake up with a heaviness you cannot explain. You are not broken, you are not weak, and you are certainly not alone. In Islam, the heart is not just an emotional organ, it is a spiritual center. When it feels emptied, it is often because it is missing what it was created for, closeness to Allah. Allah tells us that hearts find true rest only in His remembrance. This means that no amount of success, relationships, productivity, or distraction can fully soothe a heart that has drifted away from its source. The sadness you feel for no reason is often the soul reacting to spiritual distance, even if the mind cannot name it. Sometimes we confuse busyness with purpose. We fill our days with tasks, our phones with noise, our schedules with people, but we leave little space for Allah. The heart, however, notices, and when it is deprived of remembrance, it becomes restless. That restlessness shows up as emptiness, anxiety, or unexplained sadness. Not because Allah has abandoned you, but because He wants you to return. In Islam, pain is not always punishment. Often it is invitation. Allah gently shakes the heart so it stops relying on what cannot satisfy it. He allows discomfort so you pause and ask deeper questions. Why do I feel this way? What am I truly missing? And when the heart finally turns back to Him, through dua, through quiet tears, through honest repentance, it begins to heal. It is also important to remember that faith does not make us immune to emotional struggles. Even the most righteous hearts experience grief, fear, and sadness. What made the difference was where they took those feelings. They took them to Allah, not away from Him. They did not silence the pain, they translated it into supplication. If you feel empty today, do not rush to numb it. Sit with it, let it soften you, let it humble you, let it bring you back to sincere remembrance. Speak to Allah about the sadness you cannot explain, because He understands what your heart cannot put into words. This emptiness is not the end of you. It may be the beginning of a deeper relationship with Allah. A heart that feels its emptiness is a heart that is still alive, and a heart that turns to Allah, even while broken, is never truly lost. Many people carry a quiet shame when they feel sad or empty without a clear reason. They tell themselves, I shouldn't feel this way. My life is fine. Others have it worse. Over time, this self-blame deepens the pain. Islam, however, teaches us something profoundly liberating. Not every sadness is a flaw, and not every heaviness is a sign of weakness. Sometimes emotional emptiness is a spiritual signal, not a personal failure. The heart, in Islamic understanding, is not merely a container for feelings. It is the center of awareness, intention, and connection with Allah. When the heart feels unsettled, it is often responding to an imbalance that the soul recognizes before the mind does. You may not consciously feel distant from Allah, but your heart knows when remembrance has faded, when sincerity has weakened, or when life has become more about survival than meaning. This emptiness often appears quietly. It does not always come with tears or dramatic pain. Sometimes it shows up as numbness, lack of motivation, or a strange heaviness in moments that should feel joyful. Islam does not interpret this as ingratitude or failure. Rather, it can be a form of awareness. The heart is saying, I was created for more than this. Allah, in His mercy, does not leave the heart unattended when it drifts. When the heart forgets Him, He reminds it, not always with comfort, but sometimes with discomfort. This sadness is not meant to crush you. It is meant to awaken you. It is a reminder that your soul has needs just as real as your body's needs. Ignoring them does not make them disappear. It makes them louder. One of the most healing realizations is understanding that feeling empty does not mean you are unfaithful or broken. Many sincere believers experience seasons of spiritual dryness. Even those who pray regularly, serve others, and appear strong can feel internally disconnected. Islam does not deny this reality. It guides us through it. When you stop labeling your sadness as failure, you create space for honesty with Allah. Instead of hiding your pain, you bring it to Him. You say, Oh Allah, I feel lost and I don't fully understand why, but you do. That honesty itself is an act of worship. Allah does not ask for perfection. He asks for truthfulness of the heart. Emptiness, then, becomes meaningful. It becomes a messenger rather than an enemy. It invites you to slow down, to reassess what your heart has been feeding on, and to ask whether your spiritual life has been running on habit rather than presence. Many people try to silence this signal with distractions, more work, more entertainment, more noise. But the heart does not heal through avoidance. It heals through return. In Islam, return is always possible. The door is never closed. No matter how long the heart has felt distant, Allah's mercy is closer than that distance. The sadness you feel may be the very thing guiding you back to sincerity, humility, and reliance on Him. When you see emptiness as a signal, not a failure, you stop fighting yourself and begin listening to what your heart has been trying to tell you all along. One of the greatest causes of unexplained sadness is the belief, often unconscious, that the world can satisfy the heart. We are surrounded by messages that tell us happiness comes from achievement, recognition, relationships, or control. We internalize these ideas slowly until our hearts begin chasing what they were never designed to hold. Islam offers a clear truth. The heart was not created to be filled by the world. The dunya is temporary, unstable, and constantly changing. Anything that changes cannot be the foundation of lasting peace. When the heart tries to settle in what is temporary, it will always feel anxious or empty, because deep down it knows what it is clinging to can be lost. This is why even people who have everything can feel hollow inside. Allah created the heart with a specific capacity, one that only He can fill. When remembrance is weak, the heart searches elsewhere. It attaches itself to people, status, success, or routines, hoping they will provide what only Allah can give. For a while, these things may distract the heart, but they cannot nourish it, and what is not nourished eventually weakens. This is why sadness often appears after achieving something you worked hard for. You reach a goal, and instead of peace, you feel strangely empty. Islam explains this not as ingratitude, but as misplacement. You placed your hope in the result rather than in Allah. When the result arrives, the heart realizes it is still hungry. The Quran reminds us that remembrance of Allah is not optional decoration in life. It is essential nourishment. Just as the body grows weak without food, the heart grows restless without dhikr, reflection, and conscious connection with its Creator. When these are missing, no amount of external comfort can compensate. Modern life intensifies this struggle. We live fast, consume constantly, and rarely sit in silence. The heart is overstimulated but undernourished. We scroll, compare, and chase, yet we feel increasingly disconnected. Islam calls us back to simplicity, not by rejecting the world, but by putting it in its proper place. The heart is meant to use the world, not depend on it. When the world becomes the source of identity or worth, the heart becomes fragile. But when Allah is the anchor, the world becomes lighter. Loss hurts less. Success feels humbling rather than intoxicating. Life becomes meaningful even in difficulty. Feeling empty then may be the heart's protest. It is saying, this is not what I was created for. It is urging you to realign, to take what you need from the world, but not to seek your worth or peace from it. When the heart turns back to Allah, it begins to feel full, not because life becomes perfect, but because the heart is finally aligned with its purpose. True contentment in Islam is not about having less pain, but about having a heart connected to the one who controls all outcomes. When that connection is restored, the emptiness fades, not instantly, but steadily. The heart remembers where it belongs. One of the most misunderstood aspects of spiritual life is discomfort. Many people assume that closeness to Allah should always feel peaceful, light, and joyful. When sadness or heaviness appears, they fear something is wrong. Islam teaches a deeper truth. Allah often uses discomfort as an invitation, not a rejection. Emotional pain has a unique ability to humble us. When everything is going well, the heart can become self-sufficient without realizing it. We rely on routines, strength, and plans. But when unexplained sadness appears, those supports feel insufficient. The heart becomes vulnerable. And vulnerability is often the doorway to sincerity. Allah does not always draw His servants closer through ease. Sometimes He removes distractions. Sometimes He allows the heart to feel unsettled, so it will finally turn to Him with urgency rather than habit. This discomfort is not meant to push you away. It is meant to bring you closer in a more honest way. When you feel empty, You are more likely to make dua from the heart, not just the tongue. You speak to Allah without rehearsed words. You admit confusion, weakness, and need. These moments of raw sincerity are deeply beloved to Allah. They strip away pride and replace it with reliance. Islam reframes pain as purposeful. Not every hardship has an immediate explanation, but every hardship carries potential closeness. The question is not, why do I feel this way? But where is this feeling leading me? If it leads you to reflection, repentance, or remembrance, then it is already serving a divine purpose. Allah knows that comfort can make the heart forgetful. Discomfort, when met with patience, makes the heart attentive. It slows you down. It forces you to listen inwardly. It reminds you that you are not in control, and that realization, though painful, is deeply freeing. Many people discover their strongest connection with Allah during periods of sadness, not because sadness is desirable, but because it removes illusions. It reminds the heart that its true refuge is not within itself or the world, but with Allah alone. If you are feeling sad without a clear reason, do not rush to escape it. Ask Allah what He wants you to notice. Ask Him to guide you through it rather than around it. This discomfort may be the most personal invitation you have ever received, an invitation to deepen your faith, soften your heart, and rediscover what it truly means to rely on Allah. Sometimes the path back to peace passes through discomfort first. And when you respond to that discomfort with trust, patience, and remembrance, the heart emerges stronger, clearer, and closer than it was before. Feeling sad or empty without a clear reason is one of the most confusing emotional experiences a person can face. It leaves you questioning yourself, your faith, and even your gratitude. Yet through the lens of Islam, this inner heaviness takes on a very different meaning. It is not proof that something is wrong with you. Rather, it may be evidence that your heart is still alive, aware, and seeking what it was created for. This emptiness reminds us that the heart is not a machine that runs on routine alone. It needs sincerity, presence, and connection with Allah. When those elements weaken, the heart reacts, sometimes quietly, sometimes painfully. That reaction is not betrayal, it is communication. The soul speaks when it is neglected, and Allah allows that feeling so we do not remain spiritually asleep. Islam teaches us that the world can never be the final answer to what the heart seeks. Achievements, relationships, company, comfort, and stability are blessings, but they are not anchors. When the heart leans on them too heavily, it eventually feels disappointed and drained. Emptiness becomes the reminder that the heart's true home is with Allah, not in what we own or achieve. Most importantly, this sadness can be an act of divine mercy. Allah does not always guide us through ease. Sometimes He draws us closer through discomfort, through moments that strip away distraction and force us to turn inward. In those moments, dua becomes real, tears become honest, and faith becomes personal. The heart stops performing and starts surrendering. If you are experiencing this emptiness, do not rush to silence it or label it as weakness. Sit with it, reflect, return to Allah with openness rather than fear. Speak to Him in the language of your pain, even if your words are incomplete. Allah understands what your heart cannot articulate. Remember, a heart that feels emptiness is a heart that still longs for truth, and a heart that longs for Allah is never abandoned by Him. This sadness may not be the end of your peace. It may be the beginning of a deeper, more sincere relationship with your Creator. When the heart returns to where it belongs, it does not just find relief, it finds meaning.